Trying to set a YouTube growth plan as a beginner can be a really overwhelming thing to do, especially because there's no one-size-fits-all strategy for YouTube, and it can be really tricky if you've got other work commitments in your life. So in today's video, I'm going to talk about my honest YouTube growth plan and how you can maybe take some of these points that I'll talk about today and apply it to your own growth plan. It's going to be fairly realistic, and it's not going to be overly specific down to the amount of times per week you need to post or even the times of day. We're going to be talking a little bit more generally about this and what I've found to work over the years and what I've found doesn't really work. But again, I want to stress there's no one-size-fits-all strategy for this. This is just kind of like my vague interpretation of what's worked for me over the years and what really hasn't. But for those of you who are new to this channel, hi, my name is Kaylee and I'm a beauty and fashion photographer based near Sydney, Australia. But I'm also a content creator, and I started this channel a few years ago to talk about all things business, social media, freelancing, and content creation. And as I mentioned in today's video, we'll be going through my honest YouTube growth plan, and hopefully you'll be able to take some points away from today's video to apply to your own growth plan. So I really need to preface this video by saying that you really need to be realistic when it comes to setting a growth plan for your YouTube channel. Be realistic. It's really one of the top things I would say to remember. Building a YouTube channel audience takes time, and it's as simple as that. 9 times out of 10, it is not going to happen overnight. So I think that to have that expectation of things happening for you that quickly on YouTube, I would say to kind of get rid of that expectation really quickly. You really do need to be prepared for the long haul. And even if you do have a video that goes viral during that time frame, that does not guarantee you success on YouTube, and it doesn't guarantee you long-standing success over a long period of time. So as I mentioned, you need to be prepared for the long haul and really build a sense of momentum with what you're doing. And as long as you're realistic about what you can achieve on YouTube in certain time frames, then I think setting a growth plan is a really great way to start with your YouTube journey. Setting goals or targets like this can be a really great way to kind of help accelerate the growth a little bit more on your YouTube channel without you even realizing. I think sometimes we tend to aim a little bit higher for certain things when we're setting goals, and even if we don't get all the way in the end, we may have gotten a bit further than we would have had we not set the goals in the first place. So that's why I think it is somewhat important to have a YouTube growth plan, even if it's a little bit vague or it's not super specific on what you want to achieve. It's okay to not know those things when you're starting out with YouTube, but I do think it's good to have a brief outline of where you'd like to head and some goals and targets that you would like to hit. So I think the first step in building a YouTube growth plan has to be setting a schedule that works for you and something that you can stick to. This also translates into consistency, and consistency is going to be key if you want to grow your YouTube channel. This all happens to be tied in with momentum, which I will talk about briefly in this video, but momentum is one of those things that I personally think is the most important thing if you are looking to grow your YouTube channel. You yourself, you need to be invested and you need to be building that momentum with each piece of content that you release. But for now, let's talk about a schedule and realistically what you need to be thinking about when you set a schedule for yourself. Now, I do believe that it's okay for schedules to change as you go along with your YouTube channel and as it grows. For example, with my main channel, and I've got several YouTube channels here on YouTube, but this main channel that I'm talking about is a photography and retouching channel, which I've had on YouTube for about 10 years. And originally I was posting a lot more videos than what I am now. In the beginning, I was posting, around 2 to 3 videos a week, and I was doing that for years. And it did fluctuate from time to time depending on my commitments, but I did find that I was posting a lot more often compared to what I am now. Nowadays, I'm posting about once a fortnight because I really don't believe that I need to be posting any more than that at the moment. Sometimes I'll do once a week, but at the moment, I think I've built my YouTube channel to the point where I focus a little bit more on quality, more so than quantity at this point, and I'm okay with that. But whatever you do when you're setting yourself a schedule on YouTube is that you really need to step back and have a look at your own commitments in your life. So whether that is work commitments or other lifestyle commitments, your general lifestyle as a whole, whether you do night shift, whether you do day shift, whether you have a 9-to-5 job or a part-time job, you really need to decide on a realistic schedule that will fit in with all of that. For example, don't bother trying to aim to post 5 times a week to YouTube if you know you cannot realistically set that target and achieve it, especially if you've got all of these other commitments, 5 is probably going to be a bit too many. If you can only realistically post once a month, then just start off with posting once a month and let that be your schedule. Let all of that time and energy you have for that month be poured into that single video and try your best to stick to that schedule for as long as you can. And then maybe, as I mentioned, things will change and you can up your schedule a little bit more depending on if you drop some of your commitments or for if any reason that doesn't take as much of your time anymore. The one thing I would suggest to do though is to not overcommit, because I think this is single-handedly one of the things that will really stop you from posting a lot of the time and kind of make you give up. It's a surefire way to really burning out here on YouTube. If you are posting too much, if you're creating too much, especially with all of your other commitments, a lot of the time that will burn you out and suddenly you haven't posted for 2 or 3 months and now your current routine is to not post at all. And that's happened to me several times before when I've overcommitted with the amount of content that I was looking to produce here on YouTube. And I'm glad that now I've got more of a routine for myself that I think I fit better into. For example, I post 2 times a week to this YouTube channel. I post once a fortnight to my travel vlogging channel with my partner, and then once a fortnight to my main photography channel. Now I can do that because quite a large part of my business now is made up of content creation, so I have specifically time set aside to do that. But I know that not everyone is going to be in that situation, so really it is all about finding a schedule that works for you and to not overcommit. Like I said, with doing this, it can really help build momentum if you get into a routine of posting those YouTube videos and into that set schedule that you're able to stick to. And also your audience is going to love the consistency. No matter if you're posting once a fortnight or once a month, at least they can expect something from you at some point. If you're not posting regularly or the schedule's kind of all over the place, it's going to be a lot harder to retain some of those audience members and to retain their attention. So really keep that in mind for your YouTube schedule if you're looking to set one, especially in 2025. Make sure it's realistic and don't overcommit. So the next part of my growth plan is to really set goals and track them. As I mentioned earlier in the video, I think it's a really good step to actually start setting goals or growth goals with your YouTube channel. Now, I would say with these particular goals, some of them do need to be a bit more specific than others. For example, if you are looking to increase the view count on your channel, don't just write down a goal of grow my channel. Write down a goal like, I want to increase my view count by 10% by the end of March or whatever month you're in. I think it's good to be specific with those kinds of goals so you can track them a bit better and really stay updated with how you are tracking. As I mentioned, setting goals with reasonable timeframes can really help to accelerate your growth without you even realizing. A lot of the time we may not necessarily achieve these goals that we set, but a lot of the time we will be achieving more than what we had of if we didn't set these goals in the first place. And if you're setting these goals and tracking them, it can really force you to try different methods of posting on YouTube or really alter your content and to help improve your growth results overall. So really it's not even about the end result, it's about sort of looking along the way, tracking your goals and seeing where your content is headed. And if things are going well, then you know you're on the right track and you can set more similar goals. And if not, maybe you need to reassess some and sort of tweak them as you go. For example, I did have a goal of 10,000 subscribers by the end of 2024, and I'm close, I'm not quite there. I'm over 9,000 at this point of filming this video, but I feel that I've achieved more than what I would have had I not set myself that goal. So again, I think it's a really good thing to start setting goals and tracking them if you are looking at having a YouTube growth plan. And just make sure to not set too many unrealistic goals. You know, for example, 100,000 followers in like a week. Because number one, that's probably near impossible to achieve. Not impossible, but near impossible. And number two, you don't want that. I think a lot of people want that sort of growth so quickly on their YouTube channel, but a lot of the time for a lot of people, it either doesn't make that much of a difference long term, or if you've posted a viral video, for example, it could actually skew your audience to potentially an audience that you never really wanted to have in the first place, and that wasn't originally your intended target market. And then any future content that you do post on your YouTube channel may not be as appealing to that particular audience. So there are some really cautionary tales about going viral on Instagram, TikTok, or YouTube for that matter. But I do think it's important to not aim so strongly for that kind of growth overnight. It's likely not going to happen, but even if it does, it may not be something that you actually want. The next part of my YouTube growth plan is to analyze your content and then to adapt your content accordingly. So I personally use a platform called Metrical to actually keep track of a lot of my analytics through my social accounts. And you can also use YouTube Analytics for this. Metrical do give me some extra metrics that I sometimes don't get with YouTube, but I like to use both of them to really analyze my videos and see what's working and see what's not. And it really is so telling when you break down the statistics from your videos and your content on YouTube. You can really see what your audience is watching and what they're not interested in at all. And unfortunately, even I'm really guilty of doing this, where I tend to produce a lot of content that I think my audience would like to see, and not actually looking at the details and the statistics of the videos that have actually performed well on my channel to see what I should be pushing forth with and to see what my audience has preferred in the past. I think that's important to do that regularly, because the more you do that, the more you get to actually know your audience and what they like to see. If you constantly keep producing that you think your audience wants to see, you may find that a lot of your content tends to flatline, or it's not getting as many views. And as I mentioned, this is something that's happened to me a lot in the past. So one thing that I think is important to include in a YouTube growth strategy is to really start analyzing your content a lot more and really adapting your content for your audience. Make sure that you don't get too distracted by your own ideas and what's going on up here a lot of the time, because it can sort of distract you from the reality of what people prefer to watch and what has been proven to work well on your channel versus what you think will work well. Now, the next step is to really focus on titles and thumbnails. And you might be thinking with this video, this isn't a growth plan, this isn't telling me how to grow my YouTube channel, it's not specific enough, all of that kind of stuff. And I totally understand, because this is a lot of vague information, but I promise you it is all interconnected. And so many of these points that I am mentioning today have been such key drivers in whether my YouTube channel has grown or not over the years. And I really can't stress this point enough. Thumbnails and titles are going to be the only thing that potential strangers on the internet have when they see those thumbnails and the titles for your videos. That is all they're looking at. So if neither of these things are appealing to a potential viewer, or it doesn't pique their interest at all, they're likely not going to click on your video in the first place. So really focusing on your thumbnails and your titles are going to be such a key driver in whether people are watching your videos or not. It is by far one of the most important things that I will mention in this video. And again, it is essentially the packaging of your content. And you want people to be able to look at that packaging and go, I want to watch that video, or this interests me enough to click on it. So I think that, again, this is not necessarily specifics with growth, but it is going to help you overall with growth on your channel if it becomes something that you actually focus on. A few things that I like to do with thumbnails and titles is to, specifically with titles, write out a number of different titles, maybe get a second opinion from someone. I often get my husband looking at mine just to see which one is most eye-catching. Sometimes I can look at things for too long and then I can't really tell what's the most interesting or what would potentially pique a viewer's interest. Same with thumbnails. I tend to make a variety of thumbnails for one video. Then again, I'll get a second opinion on this and see which one is most eye-catching. I also use different text a lot of the time on the thumbnail to what is in my title of the video, just to kind of give it a little bit of variation there. And you might be able to have something a bit shorter and snappier on the thumbnail to really draw people's attention. YouTube does have a feature as well where you can compare different thumbnails and upload several at once, and that will actually help you to see what your audience is clicking on more so and what they kind of prefer in terms of a thumbnail, which I really love that function. I've been using that a lot lately, but it really is key to getting more views on your videos and ultimately more subscribers. Now, the next part of a growth plan really should be to celebrate milestones. This can really help you to stay motivated and keep the momentum going. You need to be so persistent with YouTube when you're trying to grow your own channel, and this is one of the things that can really help you to do it. Celebrating the small wins, so whether that is people leaving really lovely comments on your videos, or whether you've gained a couple more subscribers in a week than you had the previous week, maybe one of your videos gets featured on some other website, like look at those little wins and really celebrate them, because if you're constantly too busy with reaching for the really big massive goals of having a lot of subscribers and a lot of views, you're not going to enjoy those smaller moments, and it's really not going to do much for your momentum. In fact, it could send you the other way of being deflated and wondering why your channel hasn't grown enough like you've wanted it to. So really look at those little wins and celebrate them along the way. The next part of a growth strategy is to be ready to adapt your content. Now, I've spoken about this a little bit already in this video, but it's important to look at different trends, especially seasonal content, and just be aware of that. You really need to pivot and be flexible if need be with YouTube content. I think that's really important to remember. Audiences' tastes change all the time, so it's good to be prepared for that. Again, like I said, analyzing your content really comes into this and adapting it for your own audience, making sure that you're ready to adapt if you need to and to change things up a little bit. And again, this will come along with goal setting and really tracking that and seeing if you need to change things or set different goals along the way. All of this is interconnected, and it's all going to make a difference in how your YouTube channel is growing and how quickly that happens. And then last but not least is to engage and build community. I think a really important part of a YouTube growth strategy is always replying to all the comments you receive, or as many as possible. Now, this isn't necessarily going to be possible forever, especially if you do end up having, a few 100,000 subscribers or even less, and you're getting hundreds of comments for each video. This is not always going to be possible, but especially in the beginning, if you're an aspiring YouTuber and you want to grow your channel, one of the best ways you're going to do this is to make sure you're applying to all of your viewers that leave comments on your channel. Make sure that you absolutely prioritize the people who are supporting your work and who are really kind and leaving great comments. Try not to entertain haters too much or people who leave horrible comments, but really focus on those people that are supporting your channel, because the more you do that and engage with them, the more they're going to come back to your channel and comment again and be really interested and engaged with the content that you're offering. I see far too many times that a lot of YouTubers just don't engage with their audience at all, and it's kind of sad to see, because in this day and age when there's so much overload of content, I think having that human connection is so important for growth for things like YouTube or even short form platforms, and actually caring enough to respond to people when they ask a question or if they're leaving really kind comments on your work. And especially, like I mentioned, if you are still a beginner and you have the ability to reply to all of your comments, you're not getting hundreds of comments per video, try to do that, because it's such a great way to engage and build community for your channel. Well, thank you so much for watching this video today, and if you liked it, please give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't subscribed to my channel, make sure you do, because I'll be posting a lot more videos like this one in future. Let me know down in the comments section below if you've got a new strategy for YouTube for 2025, or if you're looking at having a different growth plan, or if any of these points in this video resonated with you. I would love to hear your thoughts down in the comments. But in the meantime, also make sure to hit the notification bell to see all the updates from my channel, and thank you so much for watching as always. I'll see you in the next video.